Hey guys, it's Little Huge here. I'm going to talk about the DPS build that I use for raiding and incursions. The specialization is going to change depending on the situation. You'll quite often see me running it with crossbow. I use this for dark hours. You'll see me using it with firewall for the incursion. Demo will work as well. Demo gives us extra damage to target out of cover for the group. Firewall gives us bonus damage when you're near the enemy. So with the incursion, everybody's close. That works out perfect for it. Plus, you got that shield for it, which will do some extra damage for anybody behind you. For crossbow, I use this because on Razorback, we use the crossbow to break the grate really quickly. You could also, I use it with the technician. Yeah, I use it with the technician on the incursion as well to give an extra skill tier so that I can get a decoy with more health on it. So you'll see this build is used. It would work great with minigun as well. It basically, each of the specializations have a different reason to use them. So you can pick whichever your favorite is. I change mine based on the situation of what I'm doing itself. As far as the primary weapon as well, I prefer ARs, especially for raids. Chungas and stuff are health damage, and so Razorback is as well. ARs do more health damage, so ARs are typically the thing that I would like to see in the raids. SMGs not so much because we're often shooting medium to long range, and SMGs just don't have the same power at a farther distance. And LMGs, I'm not a big fan of them myself. They suppress the enemies more than stuff. So for most of the time, I like to see ARs in here. You can pick whichever primary one you want, though. The goal that you want to do with this is to get over 50% crit chance. So mine's at 51, and then everything else goes into crit damage for it. We're also going to use a ACS, a lefty, so ACS 12, a lefty, or a rock and roll. This is going to be used to build our stacks. So we are just running a basic strikers build. We want to build stacks quickly. This is the gun to do that, and then to switch to your primary to do the major damage for it. Now, if you're fighting an enemy up close, the ACS will also do some good damage, if not kill them outright for it. I like to go with fast hands for it, but rock and roll gives you double the magazine size, and lefty will give you the ability to sledge. I do run a card custom. Card custom is a DZ exclusive, so you can find this in named cache or in the DZ for pistols. Sometimes it's for sale at the Countdown vendor or other vendors, so check them out. Now, the skill tier is great because that allows us to, let's say somebody dies, we can switch to our pistol before we put a revive hive down. That'll pick the person up. We can pick our hive back up and still keep a charge for ourselves or for somebody else. So skill tier on the card custom is super clutch quite often. For the build itself, we're just going 4 striker pieces. For raids and incursions, we want to use the striker chest and backpack. If you're going to use open world stuff, I would switch the chest to Seska chest with obliterate or Grupo obliterate, depending on what your build is. But for raids and incursions, we want to use the chest and the backpack. The chest gives us 200 stacks, so an additional 100 stacks from the base, and the backpack increases the amount of damage from 0.65% per stack to 0.9% per stack. So lots of extra damage using the chest and backpack for strikers. The Seska piece can be in either the holster, the knees, or the mask section for this one. For each of these pieces, we're going all red, so weapon damage as your main core for all 6 pieces, and crit chance, crit damage. The crit chance and crit damage, the exact amounts that you need, again, are whatever weapon you decide to use, get them above 50% crit chance, and then the rest into crit damage. So yours may change a little bit from what I have here. You might have to use some crit chance mods instead of crit hit damage. But you can see for this one, on strikers, I have weapon damage, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. For the backpack, I am using 1 crit chance mod. So weapon damage, crit damage, and then the crit chance mod on this one. For the chest piece, weapon damage, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. So I'm using the Eagle Bear, which comes from the Dark Hours raid, on normal. Because of that, this doesn't have as much crit chance as some of the other guns. I do need to have the 1 crit chance mod on here to get above 50%. The last striker's piece on the knees, weapon damage and crit damage, and the Seska is going to have weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage on it. The single piece bonus brand set is 8% crit chance for it. Now, I've really enjoyed the overdogs. If you haven't used these before, haven't got them from your season pass yet, these things will give you amplified weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemy, and it shows you the tier list here. Now, I've heard from some people that they don't like the idea of having to focus on certain enemies and stuff. I totally get that. That means that you use this, and sometimes you'll get that amplified damage, and sometimes you won't. For me, I don't think about the tiers. Just sometimes I get to kill things really fast. Now, the really interesting thing is for the raids and incursions, quite often we clear adds and then we do damage to the boss in that. When that happens, like if you think on the incursion, when we clear adds and then we just have right is the lowest ranking enemy because there's no other enemies there. So we get the amplified damage on him by himself. So that's super cool. I like that. Gives us extra damage for it. Now, if you haven't unlocked this yet or haven't got it in the season or just don't like to use it, the other option to use would be a Gruppo. So 1 Seska, 1 Gruppo. Gruppo would be weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage on it. Same thing, you want to get your crit chance over 50%, and then the rest into crit damage. So 51 crit chance, 174 crit damage. But again, we lose that extra amplified damage from the overdogs when we're shooting the right target for it. And amplified damage is super cool. It's like getting glass cannon and strikers together for it. So that's the build that I use for the skills. I use Revive Hive to pick myself up or others in the raid. And then it doesn't really matter what you use for a second skill. So turrets, drones, shields, lots of people use different things for it, but either one works. I had mentioned that I use this with different specializations for different things. So I will show them to you here. This is the Firewall Striker. This is what I use for the incursion. I've got the Firewall, and I use the Ouroboros because I'm doing closer, fighting at closer corners, basically. Now, if you don't have the Ouroboros, like a Dark Winter works really well as well. I use the shield for this one because of the extra damage and keeps me safe. I have it on the crossbow. That's the one I showed you first. I also have it on Technician. This is what I use for the turrets and the incursion to start. So the Technician gives us extra skill tier, and that extra skill tier will give my decoy extra health on it. So those are it. But again, you can use it with any specialization, no matter what gun you decide to use. So I have the St. Elmo on this one, and I have 3 crit hit damage mods because of it. We're just slightly short on it because I'm using the Overdog, so I should technically throw an extra crit chance on that one. But if I go back to the Ouroboros one, this one has so much crit chance that we should be over it by 60%. So we've hit the cap at 60% while still having the Overdogs on this one. And that's it. You can also use Coyote's Mask if you like. I'm not a big fan of using it for myself, but it is an awesome group buff one. If you were to do that, I would just go with a Seska 4-piece striker and a Coyote Mask, but this is the build that I've been using with the Overdogs, and I'm loving it. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will talk to you later. Bye for now.